Recovery Initiative. Senate pays tribute to late great music legend Jimmy Cliff. On the international scene, Ukrainian President Zelensky signals progress in talks with US on peace plan. And in sport, England humiliated by second-string Australia, says former captain Vaughan. The details after this.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
There was a demonstration earlier this afternoon in Apponcombe Square, St. Elizabeth, against the decision not to have the presence of the Jamaica Defence Force JDF to help rebuild dwellings and other structures that were destroyed by Hurricane Melissa. The decision was announced by Maroon Chief Richard Curry. However, the move has not gone down well with several Maroons. Andrew Rowe, a member of the Maroon community, spoke to Nationwide News about today's demonstration.
What's really happening now? What caused this quiet? We're right, and our Prime Minister come here Sunday and seeking out to give us some help by using the security forces, help put on back the people on the roof. The chief agree, and by Wednesday, the chief keep meeting, say that they want the support from the government, but they don't want the army up here, right? He's speaking on his behalf and just a handful of them. The people are compound crying out, need the help, and so they want the security forces. That's why a demonstration just done in the community a while ago.
He said although several care packages have been delivered, there is an urgent need to rebuild infrastructure in the community.
Well, the good demonstration one today that's showing the colonel say the people are bawling out. They need the help because from the whole scam, people carrying a lot of goodies in here, but not even a pound of zinc nail. And people under tarpaulin and want to go in them house and can't go in them house. That's why the Honorable Prime Minister promised us that he will send the security forces to put on back our roof. Now people get frustrated when they hear that news, that they don't want the security forces up here. We don't have nothing to hide. Security forces are always up here. Them sometimes they come up here and train.
Andrew Rowe, a member of the Maroon community in Apponcombe, St. Elizabeth. More than $70,000 have been allocated under the Jamaica Resilient Recovery Initiative, JRRI, to bolster the recovery for youth farmers, fisherfolk and operators of micro, small and medium-sized enterprises, MSME. The grant is funded by the United Nations Development Programme Multi-Country Office in Jamaica. It's being channeled through the Jamaica Forage Foundation 2016 Limited. The initiative will benefit almost 150 individuals, including 35 fisherfolk from Galleon Beach in St. Elizabeth. Agriculture Minister Floyd Green says fishermen in coastal areas have suffered huge losses.
The fact that you have incorporated Galleon as a part of this project says to me that you have visited and have seen the devastation that befell Galleon from Hurricane Melissa. Again, outside of our farmers, our fishers were extremely hard hit in Hurricane Melissa. We've recorded over 3,200 boats that have suffered either damage or complete loss. A lot of our fishers in these coastal communities have lost all their homes. They literally have nowhere to go. Their rebuilding is going to take significant effort.
Minister Green says the grant will also benefit 110 young farmers and fishermen from Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, St. Thomas and Clarendon.
Over 70,000 farmers have been impacted. And when you break it down, among that set of farmers are our youth farmers. The data shows that it is more challenging for youth to get involved in agricultural enterprise. They have less access to capital, they have less access to land. Overall, it's just a very difficult task as a young person to be able to balance business with all of the trappings of youth. And with this grant of US $70,000, this will go a far way in helping young people.
Floyd Green, Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining. Telecommunications provider Flow says it has implemented rebates for more than 230,000 fixed service customers who experienced downtime caused by Hurricane Melissa. In a statement on Friday, Flow notes that while several areas maintained service throughout the storm, many communities, particularly in western Jamaica, experienced significant outages as its infrastructure sustained extensive damage. The telecoms provider says the rebates form part of a broader suite of customer-focused initiatives implemented before and after the hurricane. Customer Experience Director Nairi Coke says the company remains committed to easing the burden on affected customers. Icon and legend. Those were some of the words used on Friday by senators in their tribute to reggae stalwart Jimmy Cliff. Cliff, whose given name was James Chambers, passed away on November 24. President of the Senate, Christian Tavares Finson, says Jimmy Cliff's legacy is a source of inspiration for a country facing hard times.
Jimmy Cliff once sang, "I can see clearly now the rain is gone." Today, the rain falls heavily on our hearts, but we know the sun will shine again because he showed us how. Even in the recent passage of Hurricane Melissa, we know as Jamaicans, we will see clearly and rebuild stronger than before. Rest in eternal peace, James Chambers, Jimmy Cliff, son of Somerton, son of St. James, son of Jamaica.
Christian Tavares Finson. Jimmy Cliff was considered to be one of Jamaica's most celebrated musicians and was credited with helping to popularize reggae music internationally. At the time of his death, he was the fourth reggae musician to hold the Order of Merit. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and was nominated 7 times for the Grammy Awards, winning twice. Government Senator Charles Sinclair says Jimmy Cliff's legacy must become a historical monument.
I take note that the government of Jamaica also awarded him the 3rd highest honor, the Order of Merit. And in moving forward, I am advocating that a statue in his honor be placed at the entrance to Jimmy Cliff Boulevard, which is also the entrance to the Harmony Park. I will also take this opportunity, Mr. President, to propose that our Honorable Minister, in partnership with the family of this great icon, examine the feasibility of making his home at Somerton a museum which will stand as a lasting memory of his life and his work. His legacy must not be forgotten.
That's Charles Sinclair, government senator, and before him you heard from Christian Tavares Finson, also a government senator. Meanwhile, leader of opposition business in the Senate, Donna Scott Motley, hailed the late reggae legend as an emblem of Jamaican culture.
I first of all extend my condolences to his family, and not just his family, but to Jamaica and to all those over the world who held him in high regard and esteem. Jimmy Cliff, James Chambers, was more than an international icon. He was one of Jamaica's own. His voice carried the sound of this island, the resilience, the faith, and the humor, the stubborn courage, and the profound love for our people that defined who we are as a nation. When he sang, he did not simply perform, he carried all of us with him.
And opposition Senator Maziki Thame says Cliff's feature film, The Harder They Come, has provided an insightful lesson to students about the racial and ideological struggles which typified Jamaica in the 1960s.
I teach a course in popular Jamaican music in the first 20 years of independence at the University of the West Indies. And my 21st century students, when I talk to them about the 60s and the suffering and struggles of Jamaican people that led to the Black Power movement and the rise of reggae as protest music, they don't get it until I show them The Harder They Come. Then their eyes are totally wide open.
Opposition Senator Maziki Thame, and before her, leader of opposition business in the Senate, Donna Scott Motley. They were paying tribute to Jimmy Cliff in the Senate on Friday. The intersection of Graham Street and Main Street in Ocho St. Anne is closed to vehicular traffic for the rest of the weekend. The intersection closed at 5 p.m. on Friday. It's set to reopen at 10 p.m. on Monday, December 8. The National Works Agency, NWA, says this is to facilitate repairs to a damaged cross drain in the vicinity of Scotiabank. The agency says the closure is necessary as the drain spans the width of the roadway and will have to be excavated. It says the works will include the use of concrete that requires time to cure and strengthen. During the period of closure, motorists will be allowed to use the Scotiabank access. The NWA says those who require access to entities such as courts or the National Housing Trust will be accommodated. The Works Agency is urging motorists to use alternative routes as much as possible. Otherwise, they are urged to traverse with caution and obey the directions of flag personnel. The news now on the international scene. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says he had a very constructive phone call with Donald Trump's peace envoy Steve Witkoff and the U.S. President's son-in-law Jared Kushner. Zelensky said they had discussed how to ensure that Russia stuck to any potential deal to end its war with Ukraine and that he was determined to continue working with the U.S. Ukrainian officials also joined the call from Miami, where they are engaged in a third day of talks on U.S. efforts to engineer a peace deal with Russia. Moscow does not appear to have made any concessions and continues to carry out massive bombardments of Ukraine. Let's now turn to sport. England have been humiliated by Australia in the Ashes series and are in danger of suffering psychological damage. That's the word from former captain Michael Vaughan. Having conceded a first innings lead of 177, the tourists collapsed to 134 for 6 by the close on day 3 and now look set to lose the opening 2 matches of the series. England are a side that for 3 or 4 years now have played one way, and I just think teams know how to play against them, and that's a real worry. That's what Vaughan told the BBC. He also said they were humiliated in the second day in Perth, and today and yesterday. And now for a recap of the top stories making the news at this hour. Maroons protest against decision not to have the presence of the JDF in their community to help with rebuilding activities following the widespread destruction caused by Hurricane Melissa. Youth farmers, fisherfolk and operators of MSMEs to benefit from US dollar recovery initiative. Senate pays tribute to late great music legend Jimmy Cliff. You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. Use the text at 5 tomorrow afternoon. Good afternoon.
Perform outlast, we top performance, Jackama, reliable, full stop, not comma. We have the expertise for drilling.